I'm delighted to say joining me for the chat today, as always on a Monday morning, is commentator Sam Armstrong. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, seriously, let's just get straight to it because, you know, and I do want to talk about what has been all over our TV screens this morning, all over social media to wake up, is these riots in LA. Sorry, largely peaceful protests. It's a bunch of people who are objecting. A lot of them claiming, you know, Latino, but it's the usual suspects. It's the Antifa, it's the Green lot, the BLM lot, the anti. It's the same suspects every time. They got away with it in 2020. These outrageous riots, taking down. I mean, whole neighbourhoods were burnt down, and the police did pretty much nothing. And this time they're objecting to ICE. This is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement body, officials who are going in to round up people. They're going into workplaces and rounding up illegal migrants. California has 2.6 million undocumented migrants, it's believed. It's a very strong economy, as Gavin Newsom, the governor, points out. Yeah, largely built on cheap slave wage, illegal economy. I'm sure he's very happy to be to the posh restaurants where the wash-uppers are paid, you know, below minimum wage, but and have no rights because they could be deported at any time. I mean, President Trump has ordered the National Guard in. Now, the big thing about this is, again, the BBC discussion is, it's the first time in 60 years that the US leaders deployed the National Guard after Johnson did it to protect civil rights campaigners in the South. The state governor doesn't want them there. He says this is immoral, that this has basically created more unrest. But we saw the pictures before the National Guard went in. These were full-scale riots. That's when you send the National Guard in, right?
Well, let's be clear, they are every bit as much of a riotous attack on the democratically expressed laws of the United States, and we'll come back to the fact that these are laws, as anything that we saw on January the 6th, when we saw howls of outrage from exactly the same people now that are saying, oh, no, let's be careful, let's step gently around these dangerous, masked, violent individuals who are burning out cop cars, who are using explosives, who are committing grievous acts of bodily violence, including on police officers who have done nothing more than turn up to work that day. And this all comes back to a dangerous idea, and believe me, it's infected this country too, which is we don't enforce certain laws because we've decided that we just don't like them. We're not going to get rid of them. We're not going to say that people can break into this country illegally, despite the fact we don't know who they are. They could be murderers, paedophiles, rapists, or whomever.
Terrorists.
But we're just going to instead say we're not going to enforce those laws. And enforcing those laws is in some way provocative. It's
racist.
In some way
it's probably racist.
Iffy, wrong. No, these ICE officers who went in to enforce the law. And I don't want to hear a jip, not a whiff of anything out of anybody that says, oh, I'm a rule of law, defend the rule of law. If you defend the rule of law, you defend the right of these officers to go into work, to do their job in difficult circumstances, to enforce the law. And the laws of the land say you can't break into the country illegally.
And there's a clear political mandate for Donald Trump. He was elected on this policy. This policy, by the way, has majority support, including from many Democrats as well. It's going to go over 60% support. So the load of Democrats are also supporting this. And again, even if they didn't, it's a simple matter. Well, then campaign to change the law and say, yes, our borders are open to anyone who wants to come in. And the idea, well, people have been working here for years. Yeah, but you came in illegally, you're undocumented, you don't have a right to stay. I feel the same way here. There are loads of people here who've come here illegally, or they've come here legally and overstayed their visas, and the estimates we've been given, maybe 1 million. It's not. It's going to be way bigger than that. It's going to be way bigger than that. Absolutely, people need to be rounded up and sent home. I don't care whether you've got a family here, I'm not interested. You don't have a right to go and choose to live in any country you want to live in. And even if you've been law-abiding, now, you're not my top priority. I mean, I'd rather get the rapists and the terrorists and the paedophiles out first, and the drug dealers, But after that, no. And again, I don't care I don't care if you're a white American. I don't care if you're a black Nigerian. You're from Pakistan. You're from China. I don't care where you're from. If you don't have a right to be in this country, if you don't have a right to be in America, you need to be you need to leave. You need, and if you don't leave voluntarily, you will be forcibly. That said, I do believe in, it's very important that you need to have due process, and people need to say, well, no, you've got me, I'm the wrong person, or you need to be able to need to get legal representation, but not like we have with our asylum seekers, 10 years of different appeals. There's a balance. But again, Gavin Newsom, one of the worst people on the planet. This is the man, he closed schools in California during lockdown for over a year. for a year. He kept kids in schools 8 hours a day wearing face masks until spring 2022. Spring 2022. By the way, he was busy breaking lockdown. There's video footage of him out at some smart restaurant which opened secretly up in the Hollywood Hills for the very rich people to go and basically flout the lockdown laws. He is the worst kind of human being. He flip-flops on every single issue he can flip-flop on, depending on what is popular that week. And he's likely to be the Democratic front-runner at the next presidential election. And if he is, I can assure you it will be the Republican who wins.
Yeah, bring it on. And it's just the hypocrisy that gets you with these people
Always.
every single time.
Yeah, you either believe in law and order or you don't. It's very simple. I mean, I'm with it all the way. Here's a good idea. Even if you're a peaceful protester, at these sort of events, when other people turn violent, you move away.
Quite.
You go away. When the police tell you to disperse, you disperse. That's how it works. That's not freedom of speech. That's a riot. Let's also talk about freedom of speech of idiots. You are entitled, and I believe very strongly in this world, particularly in this country, you're entitled to hold a stupid and ill-informed opinion as you want. You and I are both keen members of the Free Speech Union, and I include Greta Thunberg in that. Yep. And she should absolutely join the union because, my God, she does need some defence for her freedom of speech to say the dumb things that she has to say. She joined this so-called Freedom Flotilla, an aid convoy to Gaza, along with a lot of other virtue-signalling people, some of whom, of course, have openly supported Hamas. She was on this Gaza-bound aid boat. The aid boat I think I've got more flour and supplies in my kitchen cupboards than they were actually taking. Apparently it was just sort of, a signal. It was a signal of their support. They were basically desperate to be boarded by the IDF so they could actually have a big show. And indeed, they did get boarded by the IDF early hours of this morning, and they have been taken ashore. But before that, Greta Thunberg recorded a video. Can you spot what's wrong with what she said in this self-gratifying video?
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
I mean, there's so much wrong with that, apart from the whole virtue thing, the performative wearing of the keffiyeh and the like. She said she was kidnapped. Yep. Kidnapped. Does she know what being kidnapped really means? When the Israeli forces take you, they make a public announcement, they video it, they give you sandwiches and water. That's all on video. Then apparently they are going to get her and the others to watch that 45-minute video of the horrific obscenities of what happened in the 7th massacre. Largely, by the way, filmed by the Hamas terrorists carrying out those atrocities before they let them go and send them home. She also talked about my friends, family, comrades. Sweetheart, you're not in a war. You're just a propaganda tool. You're a useful idiot. I mean, you've been wrong about everything. The green obsession, the socialism. But on this, wrong even more. You weren't taking aid to people who are starving in Gaza. A, they're not starving, they're getting aid. B, you didn't actually have any real aid on board, because I've got more flour and supplies in my kitchen cabinets than you had on that little yacht. This was about you getting some selfies, going on a nice little jaunt, getting your numbers up on social media, and performative virtue signaling that does absolutely nothing for the people of Gaza, currently living under the rule of Hamas, does nothing for the Israeli hostages, the ones who really were kidnapped, sitting in tunnels after being tortured and starved by the people, the men that you support, the Hamas soldiers. Now, you've been taken to Israel and you are going to be shipped home. I'm sure Sweden don't want you back, but I think that's the wrong decision by the Israelis. I think they should have boarded the ship and taken you to Gaza, because I'm sure your comrades in Hamas would absolutely love an outspoken woman wearing shorts and spouting her views. I think they would absolutely love to have you there, and I'm sure you'd very much enjoy your experience too. Sam, this performative virtue signaling by celebrities is getting tiresome at best, isn't it?
And can I tell you what makes me sick? What makes me sick is that this woman, she's now
by the way, she is a woman. She's 23.
She's now a woman. is held up in our society by far too many of the media as a hero, as someone who's doing something that's brave and heroic all the damn time. Let me be very clear. She has lied about being kidnapped and she has filmed it. Let me tell you who is not portrayed as a hero by our media. It is the girls that went along to a music concert that celebrated peace in southern Israel, who were kidnapped, who were taken, raped, abused violently by hordes of baying men that shouted at them, cheered at them,
spat on them,
were taken to tunnels, were held underground where they were used as little more than slaves for 300, 400 days. Some of them are still there, and they were actually kidnapped. They felt the terror every night, hardly, one can only imagine, slept for an entire year or more. Not one of these people is going to get put on the front page of Time magazine. Not one of these people is going to get a book deal or an Instagram million-plus followers. They are heroes. They are heroes. The fact that that woman is held up as a hero and they are not tells you everything that is going on with a sickness that has infected too much of our society.
It really has. It really has. I mean, I'm embarrassed for her and anyone supporting her. We're going to be talking to Yvonne Ridley a little bit later in the show. She said some absolutely outrageous, shocking things even in the last 24 hours regarding October the 7th, but we're going to be talking to her again because she was due to actually be on this flotilla and about what Greta Thunberg is doing there. Let's also talk just very briefly about what's coming back. Let's talk about stuff going on here. Got lots from on the show on what's going on here. We've got this outrageous migrant hotel bill. It's on the front page of the Sun today, and basically, our £4.7 billion annual bill to keep migrants in hotels and look after them takes every penny of tax from a total of 582,000 workers, and that is equivalent to the population of Manchester. This has been compiled by our good friend of the show, statistics expert Jamie Jenkins. He did the research. He used to be the ONS. He knows what he's doing with his numbers. Now, these figures aren't new, but this sum is so huge. And when we talk about, say, immigration, legal immigration, we talk about a city that used to be the city size of Birmingham a couple of years ago that would arrive net a year. Then it's the city size of Bristol, the latest figures. But this is about our taxes. So every person who goes to work in Manchester this year, every penny of tax they pay, that isn't going to the NHS. It's not going on schools. It's not building new roads. It's not paying, teachers or nurses or police officers' salaries. It is going to pay bills for hotels and food for illegal migrants. That really brings it home, doesn't it?
Yeah, and this doesn't even cover the cost of paying for their lawyers for everything else that they get up to. And we know full well, and watching them and dealing with the fact that terrorists are coming across, known terrorists are coming across on these boats. But that's £90 million a week. If you live in one of those towns across this country that used to have a police station with officers that would come out and take and investigate if your house was burgled, and you had the reassurance of a police officer coming round your street and you knew that you were broadly safe, and if you've seen that police station disappear in the last few years, if you now have to live with the crime that at times accompanies these migrants but just infects our society more and more, if you have had to suffer the decline in your local town centre and you want to know why you're told that we can't possibly be able to afford something that this country was able to afford when we were fighting the Second World War or had rationing or everything else, this is the reason why. Because your taxes, rather than going to protect you, are going to pay the Hilton hotel bill of somebody that broke into this country illegally and endangers you and ours and everybody else's security.
Exactly. I mean, it is just extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, your thoughts welcome on this, but I also particularly want your thoughts on the debate that basically exploded after PMQs on Wednesday last week about banning the burqa. Sarah Pouchin, the new Reform MP, asked about this at PMQs, and we ran it live actually on the show. I think we're all a bit surprised. It was a bit sort of left field. It was then criticised by the Reform chief, chairman, as was Zia Youssef, himself a Muslim, but he said, look, this is a dumb question. His point being that, look, it's not even official Reform UK policy to ban the burqa or face coverings in public. Then went on to be this debate. He resigned. He then came back 48 hours later. Saturday night was announced he'd come back, but not as chairman, but in his other role, basically running the Doge side of things. I think it's a very good thing that Zia Youssef is back. It turns out he's had horrific amounts of abuse, and again, you know, just outrageous racist abuse that he's had to suffer. He is back in reform. I think that's a good thing for the party. But Kemi Badenoch, in an interview at the weekend, talking about the burqa, and she said the bosses should have the right to ban staff from wearing burqas and other face coverings in the workplace. She had out Sharia courts, first cousin marriage. She said these are insidious barriers to integration. Couldn't agree with her more. She said she had strong views about face coverings and would not allow people in her constituency surgeries if they wore face veils. And, you know, Jack Straw, the former Labour Home Secretary, had the same rule in his Blackburn constituency. I cannot speak to you if I cannot see your face. I don't understand why this is even controversial. I would absolutely go along with, you know, was it France and Belgium and other countries in Europe that have banned all face coverings, not the burqa, all face coverings. I don't want to sit on a bus or sit in a restaurant or certainly walk through an airport with someone wearing a balaclava. So I don't know why people would think the burqa was necessary, quite apart from the fact that it's got something, by the way, has nothing to do with Islam. It's not required in Islam at all. But that is clearly a way of dehumanising and de-individualising women, prevents integration and conversation. Why is it even controversial? Why shouldn't there be a ban?
Well, it is crazy that it is seen as radical, because in all of Europe, half the countries, and we're told Europe is this great progressive
liberal,
wonderland,
yeah.
Half the countries have banned it there. But I tell you who else has gone much, much, much harder at tackling radical Islam, and that's the Muslim world.
Yeah.
Islamic countries in the Gulf, in Saudi Arabia, go much harder on tackling this dangerous,
some of the stands,
perverted
Africa.
idea that this abuse of Islamic texts to propose this extremism. And they look at us and they laugh at us. They cannot imagine why we're not clamping down it, because they know how dangerous it is.
Absolutely. No, I mean, again, there are, I think, 10 countries in the Muslim, largely predominantly Muslim countries, where they have banned face coverings, banned the burqa and the niqab. I don't understand what is controversial about it. I'd love to hear from you on this, with Kemi Badenoch saying bosses should be free to ban burqas in the workplace. I'd go much further. I'd ban headscarves on girls through school. I would actually ban them in public buildings as well. And certainly, I think that, but the face covering, absolutely. But it would be all face coverings. You can't wear a balaclava. Take off your silly blue COVID mask, for goodness sake. We know they don't do anything. And the burqa and niqab as well. Would you agree with that? Would you do that? Or do you think that would stir up tensions? We're always so worried about community tensions, aren't we? Tell us whether you agree with the ban on the burqa or not, and tell us why you do. Get in touch with us, 0344 499 1000. Text us on 87222. You can get in touch on X at Talk TV. Calls are charged at the national rate. Text costs £1, standard network rate message. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, or also on where we are with the LA riots, Greta Thunberg, the migrant hotel bill, you name it, get in touch. 0344 499 1000.